Hi, I'm Larry Richardson. Did you know the Salvation Army prevents homelessness? When I was 12 years old, our father left our home, and we were homeless. A caring man from the Salvation Army with a basketball program came and offered that as an alternative for me to spend some time with him. He even offered me a job, and today I share his faith-based community work. A hand up, not a handout. That's the Salvation Army way, and I can't imagine York County without it.
The York Salvation Army prevents homelessness and offers a hand up, not a handout, without discrimination. Food, clothing, short-term assistance, referrals, and counsel.
Help the Salvation Army do the most good with your time, your money, and most importantly, your heart.
Hi, I'm Victoria Connor. Did you know the Salvation Army is a partner in providing disaster relief and also provides holiday cheers for families who can't afford food or gifts? I'm grateful the Salvation Army was here for me and when I was a child, when my family needed help. A big part of my career in volunteer work has involved emergency relief. When hardship affects families, the Salvation Army York is there.
Since 1889, wherever there's need, the Salvation Army York responds fast, whether it's coats and shoes for kids or compassionate aid during a community disaster.
Support the Salvation Army York with your time, with your donations, and with your heart.
Hi, I'm Carl Anderson. Did you know that the York Salvation Army is one of the oldest corps in the U.S.? The SAL was there for me when I was a kid and needed a fun, safe place to shoot hoops and learn how to become a good citizen. Young people today face all kinds of challenges. With your help, these students will become smart, compassionate leaders.
We offer after-school and summer camp programs, fitness, performing arts, scouting programs, and more. The York Salvation Army also welcomes volunteers.
Help the Salvation Army do the most good with your time, your money, and your heart.
Hi, I'm Ron Martin. Did you know the York Salvation Army provides Bridging the Gap, an innovative life skills and character education experience to students right in their school classrooms? The SAL for me was a great place to hang out after school when I was just dreaming about a career in broadcasting. The SAL staff meets students so hard-pressed by life that some even talk about suicide. The good news is, students are learning how to deal with life's challenges and how to help their peers do better too, in school and in life.
Last year alone, the York Salvation Army served over 18,000 individuals.
Help the York Salvation Army do the most good with your time, your money, and your heart.
Hi, my name is Tamara Willis. Did you know that the York Salvation Army has a learning center and summer camps that help students succeed and stay in school? I'm glad that the Salvation Army cared about my future when I was growing up in the inner city. I was motivated to dream big. The help, the hope, and the caring that I received, we tried to give that back daily.
Through a unique blend of homework help and tutoring, our Learning Center students succeed, no dropouts. Adults learn too through nutrition and life skills classes like Super Cupboard and Dining with Diabetes. The Salvation Army inspires students and families to achieve and to give back to the York community.
Help the York Salvation Army do the most good with your time, your money, and your heart.
Hi, I'm Lainey Gibson.
I'm Miriam Hamels. We're colleagues and friends at the York Salvation Army.
The Salvation Army helped me find my career passion.
And it gave my father a taste of home when he served in the Navy during the Second World War.
I first got involved with the Salvation Army through my church. Now I work at the Learning Center. I really enjoy working with the students, plus working here has helped me pay for my schooling.
You know, Lainey, my father always said the Salvation Army does so much good. Now that I'm working here, I see it firsthand.
From serving veterans to serving students and families, the Salvation Army York is here, today and tomorrow.
Help the Salvation Army do the most good with your time, with your money,
and your heart.
Dennis and I met many years ago at the Salvation Army in Wilkes-Barre, and I don't think we can really share how many years ago we met, will we?
No, we do not want to do that.
Needless to say that it was at the Salvation Army, and growing up in the Wilkes-Barre area, my family was very poor, and it was during those times that the Salvation Army gave us exactly what we need: Sometimes it was a bag of food to tie us over. Sometimes it was the new pair of shoes.
And of course, our Christian calling motivates us to serve people in His name, to reach out with faith, love, and compassion to meet all human needs to the best of our ability.
And you're probably wondering what you can do.
Hi, I'm Bob Pullo. Did you know that 90% of every dollar that you donate to the Salvation Army of York goes directly to serving community neighbors most in need? Help the Salvation Army of York do the most that it can. Help with your time, help with your money, and help with your heart.
That's what we're here for. We're here to help those in need. And by your sharing with your time and your talents, we are able to accomplish that.
Thank you very much for your support. May God richly bless you.
Hear the rest of our stories at salvationarmyyork.org.
Thank you very much. We're certainly thankful for the familiar faces that you saw in the video, folks like Larry Richardson, Victoria Connor, Bob Poole, or any that I missed. I certainly apologize. I do have an announcement that Michelle Baker asked me to share with you. She indicated to me that you can get a handout and that there's an enclosed card, and we invite feedback. If you have any questions of any kind, just please fill out the card. You can give it to a staff member who will be standing at the registration table, or even leave it at your table, and we'll take a look at that and compile it, and perhaps it will help us in moving our mission forward. I do want to just take a moment to say thank you to our many supporters who are members of the York Rotary Club. We're very grateful to you for the investment that you have made in our mission and our ministry, and also certainly to the York Club itself for the generosity that you've shown to us through the endowment gifts. So thank you so very, very much. Now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Commissioner Nancy Moretz. Commissioner Nancy Moretz entered the Salvation Army School for Officers Training at the tender age of 17, hard to believe, 17 years old. And she and her husband enjoyed many different appointments, many varied responsibilities. They served as Corps officers, divisional youth secretaries, divisional leaders in Puerto Rico, and also in Cincinnati, Ohio, on the southwest Ohio, northeast Kentucky region. And then the Moretzes were given the rank of commissioner. Now there's one general in the Salvation Army, and commissioner is the second highest rank that any member of the Salvation Army could achieve. And that rank is reserved for folks who are responsible for a Salvation Army territory or other important responsibility. The Moretzes served as territorial leaders in South America West, the United States Central Territory, headquartered in Chicago, Illinois, and then finally finished their active career as Salvation Army officers at the United States Eastern Territorial headquarters. The York Citadel Corps is part of the USA Eastern Territory. I'm guessing that Commissioner Nancy Moretz had no idea where her life in the Salvation Army would take her, literally around the world, if you will. And I believe the secret of her success was in the fact that she surrendered her life many, many years ago, and she walked by faith. She loved and loves the Lord much. She walked by faith and not by sight. And she surrendered her life to Him so that He could indeed use her gifts. When God found Nancy Moretz, who exhibited these wonderful spiritual qualities and superior intellect, He chose her and He blessed her life, and she has blessed countless others. I'm pleased and proud to introduce to you this afternoon Commissioner Nancy Moretz I believe that she will speak to you in a way that will touch your heart. Bless you. Commissioner.
Thank you very much. And thank all of you for the opportunity to address you today and enjoy this great company of distinguished members of this outstanding Rotary Club. Wait till I tell my friends I spoke at the 30th largest Rotary Club. I don't usually flaunt it, but I'm going to flaunt it. What have I got to lose at this age? Listen, you have, as the poet said, 70 frosty winters on my head, but 70 happy summers in my heart. You have a remarkable international reputation, I think you know that. And you have an outstanding reputation here in New York, especially for embodying the high standard of service above self. The Salvation Army is especially indebted to you for your vision, for your initiatives, and for the sake of others, and for also trusting the Salvation Army to know how and where and when to help. The York Rotary has given us grant money for our youth services game room and other projects. Rotarians have volunteered as mentors in our Bridging the Gap. You saw that on the video. In the Life Skills program, in the city school district, and in our youth services, family services, and in emergency response programs here. So the question today really isn't where would we be without the Salvation Army, although that is a haunting one. The real question is, where would the Salvation Army be without you? That's a scary one. Today I also want to applaud the commonalities that we share. That might make us kissing cousins. I say this because the S's on my uniform don't stand for Sheraton Hotel staff. Believe me, I've been asked to help with luggage. And they don't stand for SAS Airlines. Believe me, they thought I was a flight attendant. But they mean I am saved to serve. So there we are. And since I was 17 years old, as you heard, that's what I've been doing. My life is rich in blessing, and given the choice, I'd do it all over again. I know the truth of the Salvation Army branding. There is no reward equal to that of doing the most good for the most people in the most need. I also want today to thank you for your international focus and your projects internationally. Larry and I were humming along, happy Salvation Army officers serving in New York, when one day at the age of about 50 or so, there came orders from headquarters, and we were sent on international assignment. Learned a new language, and home became Santiago, Chile, where we were challenged to give oversight to the work of the Army in Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and Chile. And it's those places we also found some more kissing cousins, like Compassion International and the Rotary Club and many others. And I can thank you greatly for your careful attention in projects, I believe most recently in Ghana and in Ecuador, and for sponsoring young people to have international exposure and involvement. Super important. Where in the world would we all be without you? When we were overseas, getting down into the daily grit and grind and grimness of this world's reality and despair, I can't tell you how many times I whispered, thank God for America. I had to be 50 years old and leave America to figure out what America has given to me. So thank you for your investment in getting the young people out of here to see what's really, really good about America. Even in all of our turmoil in America, I believe that somehow right will prevail. It has to. In this world, there are too many begging for education, which we have. Desperate for medicine, which we have. Living in rags for want of decent clothing, which we have. Living in squalor for want of any kind of housing, which we have. In my service as a Salvation Army officer, I have come to see and know this. Poverty and potential are two different things. I know that poverty crushes potential, but I've also seen poverty pushed out of the way long enough for potential and character to be born, and for vision to provide the impetus for a way forward, a life changed, a community benefited, a world amazed. And I've been in Mexico at the Salvation Army, and I've seen a multitude of children being cared for by that army. so that these little ones won't fall prey to being taken and harvested for body organs or sold into the sex trade. Frank Vizcarra experienced a tragic childhood growing up in extreme poverty in Mexico, including having to beg on the streets just to pay for a grade school education. But through the help of mentors and a strong faith in God, Vizcarra was able to get a post-secondary education in the USA and go on to become a highly recognized professional soccer player in the American Soccer League. Later, he became corporate vice president of strategy, innovation, and franchise relations for McDonald's. He recalls countless occasions in which the Salvation Army provided his family with food, clothing, and other necessities, pushing poverty out of the way long enough. Today, Frank serves on the National Salvation Army Board, just one amazing outcome of what can happen when poverty is challenged and potential developed, because people like you care, and because people trust us to care for people. In Bolivia, we have a modest hospital and a clinic, and a mobile clinic, which serves thousands of people yearly in Cochabamba, a place where babies die for lack of prenatal care and where children pick up parasites for lack of clean water. So the Salvation Army operates a modest hospital there. While we were there, the hospital administrators were Salvation Army officers from Australia, the outback. They carried big knives with them. The administrators had been given a gift by Australia to go and purchase some badly needed hospital equipment. And so they decided to take the bus from Cochabamba to the north of Chile, Arica, where they could purchase the needed supplies in the duty-free zone and then bring everything back as cheaply as possible into Bolivia. Fortunately, they had experience at the hospital being around the birthing of babies, because on that long bus ride, a woman went into labor and started screaming for the bus driver to stop. He would not stop. He's working on commission, and babies are born every day. What's the big deal? It wasn't long before the woman was lying on the floor of the bus. The people were yelling at the driver, and the Salvation Army officers were doing what they could to hang some clothes on the end of seats and to make a little private area for this poor woman. Finally, amidst all this commotion, a new little Cochabambino was born. The person assisting with the birth was heard to suddenly yell, "Help! Help! We need something to tie off the cord." And without hesitation, and because we're blessed with so much of this world's goods, the Salvation Army captain pulled some dental floss out of her purse, and the dental floss did the trick, and there's a new life in the world today. So make sure you keep that dental floss with you. You never know. Where would we be without those captains? And where would that new mom be without dental floss? And where would we be without the people involved in the hospital equipment project in the first place? Now, that's doing the most good for the most people in the really most need. Well, we've been in all kinds of airplanes. We've aborted landings. We've been hit by lightning. We made emergency landings because we were out of fuel. And all that happened over the United States. But I remember a trip trying to get to La Paz, Bolivia. I think the plane we were in was a used military plane that ended up as a commercial airliner. When the pilot explained that we were going so high up and the oxygen was so thin, we would actually need to accelerate for landing so the engines wouldn't quit. It was then that I said to my husband, "I'm sick. I'm going to the restroom." When I came back to my seat, I said to him, "Honey, I need a screwdriver." With a glint in his eye and a chuckle in his voice, he said, "Do you mean the tool or the drink?" Now, for all our lives, we've been teetotalers. So alcohol has never been the answer to life's problems. But it did get us laughing as I explained, well, a tool would be helpful in putting the door back on the cabinet in the bathroom, which fell off while I was in there, and he's speeding up the plane so we could land. And then we landed in La Paz, traveled to the world's highest navigable lake, and we were greeted there by a humble, gentle Salvationist who dispenses love and mercy daily to the poorest of poor, and who has created a community greenhouse project to help teach and train and feed people from the good earth. The people didn't know we were coming that day. We actually went there because there were riots down in the Paz. The lieutenant there was a single man. He invited us into his small home. I noticed there wasn't very much in his refrigerator, but there was a 2-liter bottle of Coke, which he freely shared with us, and we were able to spend time enjoying his company and hearing about his vision for the people in that community. It was in every way sacramental. And in that lonely place, the lieutenant was doing the most good for the most people in the most need of God-like work. We traveled to Ecuador. In Quito, we have Salvation Army on the edges of drug-infested communities with our modest daycare centers. We have to teach little children how not to get AIDS, how not to get trafficked. You know, Rotarians, there are not a lot of people in this world anxious to help carry the heavy burdens of people. We get so wrapped up in philosophies and studies and finger-pointing. But I thank God for people like you who just say, well, let's do something. Let's do something. So we visited this center in this drug-infested place where they tell me we're protected by the families of the drug addicts because we help them. And there were about 50 children there that day, and we did what Americans do. We gave out candy. We told stories, and we gave out Twix bars. And then I noticed this one little girl. She took her Twix bar and she put it under her T-shirt. And I said to the captain, why is she doing that? We went to talk to her, and she said, I want to take it home and share it with my mom. Well, you know, do you remember Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? There's a line in there where Charlie has an everlasting gobstopper. And he gets real truthful with Willy Wonka. And in truth, he gives it back to Willy Wonka. And Willy Wonka's response is, so shines a good deed in a dark and dreary world. And here was this little girl doing a good thing with her candy bar. I think she's a future leader of hope. I've been in Ventanilla, Peru, where there are squatters living on what looks to me like land polluted by oil dregs. I have no idea how government lets this happen. There's dirt roads up and down the pass between the shacks, put together with God knows what. No utilities, no sewer system. I thought I was in medieval England. I could hardly breathe as we walked up a dirt path in that little community, past skinny, sick dogs, garbage coming out into the streets, trying to avoid the stench. I just needed to make it to the Salvation Army soup kitchen that's in the center of that community. When I entered the small facility there, the place was filled with people eating big bowls of spaghetti and some with chicken soup. I asked to go back into the kitchen and meet the chef. And I said to him, listen, do you always feed people like this, or is this just to impress the jefe, the boss? Are you just impressing us because we're here today? And I want the truth. Without hesitation, he responded, Commissioner, this is the only meal these people will get all day today. We give them as much as we can. Without this, these people starve. When we left there, I asked my husband how we were funding this project, and he pointed me to a plaque on the wall which in essence said, funded by the United States of America. And I said, thank you, God. Where would we be without the Salvation Army? No. Where would we be without you? And I visited Johannesburg in South Africa. I told some folks earlier this morning. There, the Salvation Army operates an AIDS babies clinic. So many babies being born HIV positive. And the day we visited, the high school boys were there. They were playing with the babies. They were touching the babies. They were providing care for the babies. We care for these babies until they die. There's an undertaker who makes little coffins for these babies. There's a medical team that comes in and helps us with medicine, trying to keep babies comfortable. There are lots of volunteers who come alongside to help. And there's a counselor who debriefs the captain monthly for all the burden and the loss that she bears in her heart, trying to love and care for these babies. But on the day we were there, I noticed a chubby little fellow in a crib in the back of the room, and I said, hey, what's up with him? Why is everybody fussing over him? And they told me that that little baby was a baby who had been found in the garbage can near this center. And the children of the neighborhood found this baby thrown in the garbage crying, and they picked him out of the garbage, ran to the Salvation Army, gave him to the captain, and the captain took care of this baby. And this baby got some medicine, and by and by the doctor came and pronounced him HIV negative and explained that sometimes this can happen with little babies. Their blood can change. Now, thank God for the Salvation Army, because in Johannesburg there is a boy who is living. There is a boy who has life. Where would we be without that place? Where would we be without all those volunteers? We'd be in a lot of trouble. You see, we can talk services to people. We can use words like alleviate hunger and hardship, give out clothing, food, emergency system, provide education, give a safe place. But what I'm talking about is life and death. And that's why as a 17-year-old fresh out of high school, I responded not to a career, but to a call and claim of God on my life to be a part of the Salvation Army and to embrace the privilege of spending my life in the redemptive mission of mankind from everything that so easily binds us and in service to the world that God so deeply loves. Listen, the Salvation Army can't do everything, but we can do something. The Salvation Army isn't perfect, but we're pretty good. I know Rotarians also have another motto, and I'm going to leave you with this. They profit most who serve best. Is that right? Is that there in your history? Yeah. Okay. Are we wait? This means yes. And I know that Paul Harris, the founder of Rotary, believed in elevation of high standards of business. So here's my last story for you today. When I was in my late 40s when the children were finally out of the house, married. We had actually had food in the refrigerator and a little bit of money starting to accumulate in the bank, and I decided that the only shoes that were good enough for me were naturalizer high heels, beautiful black pumps that were just stunning with my uniform, and they cost a lot of money, and I said, you get what you pay for. And so we received then these orders to go to Chile. I didn't know what would be available in Chile. We knew that we were going on a smaller allowance system. We'd live in a modest home. So I went out and bought about 6 pair, broke the bank buying naturalizers, because you get what you pay for. I packed them. I packed all my nice black uniform shoes, nice naturalizers, all packed. I'm waving goodbye to the moving man, and as they left, I realized I packed all my uniform. Came back into the house, said to my husband, we've got another month in the States and I have no shoes. So I'm going out to buy another pair of naturalizers. He said, oh no, you're not. You broke the bank already once. Just go to Payless. Well, I went to Payless. $15. I got my Salvation Army shoes. Do you know, I've walked all over the dusty roads of Peru, the slums of Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile. I've been down at the South Pole at the last McDonald's in the world, and those shoes lasted for all 4 years. So thank you for good business standards and for integrity and for keeping us on our feet and moving forward, those of you who are in those kinds of business. Thank you for your high standards. Thank you for fighting poverty and all of its stepchildren. Thank you for believing in potential and having a vision for tomorrow. And thank you for coming alongside this praying, progressive, practical People's Salvation Army. You're up Pennsylvania, back home. You know, we've got people who hurt, but we also have people who care. Where would York be without the Salvation Army? No, that's not the question. The question is, where would the Salvation Army, York, Pennsylvania, be without you? Thank you, thank you, thank you for helping us serve. May God bless you with the kind of joy and peace that comes from knowing you've served well.